oh my god, I hate whenever these idiots think that they're so smart. Anywho, fast forward to about a week after Jessica disappeared, and no one, not her mom, not the cops, has any idea that they're never going to find Jessica alive. And I could imagine that by this point, Austin is probably feeling really confident. I mean, he still hasn't been caught, right? But I also think that this confidence is actually slowly fading away, because as investigators start bringing out helicopters and more search dogs, as these search parties keep growing and growing and growing, I can only imagine how stressful that must be. Austin, feeling a little nervous there, buddy? And he's probably over here sitting in his room thinking, oh my god, I still have a decomposing body in my crawl space. At some point, my room's gonna start stinking and my mom might smell it. And so he comes up with yet another brilliant idea. I'll just get rid of some of the parts. And that's exactly what he does. He grabs some of Jessica's remains and puts them inside of this black garbage bag. And then he drives to this isolated field in Arvada, about 7 miles away from Jessica's home, looking for where he can dump them at. And he ends up finding this spot like near a culvert, and he checks to make sure that no one's watching. And then he just leaves the bag there like it's regular trash. Then he drives home, probably thinking that he just covered his tracks, probably feeling like he just outsmarted everyone. But spoiler alert, he didn't. Because 3 days later, on October 10th, 5 days after Jessica disappeared, some maintenance workers are working out in that exact field doing their regular rounds, picking up trash. And one of them spots this black bag near the culvert. And he's probably thinking, okay, this is just regular trash. So he plans on walking over there to toss it into his truck. But when he lifts the bag, he immediately notices that it's way heavier than it should be. And there is this awful stench coming from it. So he sets it back down and he opens it. And I don't know why he did that, but he did. And what he finds makes him stumble backwards so fast that he almost falls. And I'm not even gonna go into all of the gory details because it is genuinely horrific. And I honestly don't think that any of us need this image in our heads. And so eventually police arrive and they secure the area and they carefully collect the remains and rush them to the coroner's office. And they pretty quickly figure out that these remains 100% belong to Jessica Ridgway. So now these investigators, some of whom are parents themselves, are sitting here in this room. Some of them are bawling their eyes out because now they have to try to figure out a way to make this horrible phone call to Sarah. They have to tell this mother that her little girl is never walking through her front door again, never going to give her another hug, never going to grow up and go to college and get married and have her own kids. All of that is gone now because of one evil teenager. Now at this point, no one still has any idea who could have done all this. All they knew is that from the DNA evidence that they collected is that the perpetrator is a male. That's it. But then one afternoon, so about 2 weeks after finding that bag, a mother calls 911. And she sounds really distressed, but she takes one deep breath and says this.
Hi, I need you to come to my house. My son wants to turn himself in for the Jessica Ridgway murder.
So it turns out that for reasons that I don't fully understand, maybe Austin felt that investigators were like closing in on him. Maybe the guilt was eating him alive. Who knows? But he woke up one day and very anxiously walked over to his mom, Mindy, and said, "Mom, I have something horrible to tell you." And his mom, probably feeling like her entire world started to crumble, immediately asks what's wrong. And that's when Austin confesses everything. How he took Jessica, how he killed her, how he cut into her body in their bathtub, and how he put her pieces in their crawl space. And as you can imagine, Mindy's jaw absolutely hit the freaking floor. Like, imagine hearing that your own son, your own child, confesses that he did something so unspeakably evil to a little girl. Like, what do you even do in that moment? Is there a guidebook called What to Do When Your Son Becomes an Absolute Monster? But despite her feelings, despite the fact that that's her son, Mindy knew exactly what she had to do. She knew that her son had gone way too far and that she did not want him to hurt anyone else. And so the mother that called 911 that afternoon, turning her son in, was Mindy. And as she continued explaining to the dispatcher how her son did it, she said the sentence, "Her remains are in my house." That's not a sentence that you would ever expect to say, you know? Eventually, Mindy passes the phone to Austin and he starts saying, "I did it. I murdered Ridgeway. You have to send a squad car here, like now. I'm confessing. And so police speed to Mindy's house with the lights flashing and the sirens wailing. I mean, you can imagine. And when they get there and they start searching, everything is exactly where Austin said it would be. The tools that he used, the cleaning supplies, pieces of Jessica's remains hidden in the crawl space, everything confirming that this innocent little girl was right here in this house while his mom was at work, completely unaware. Officers immediately cuff him. Good, now keep it like that. And he is taken into custody and brought to the station where he sits for a 6-hour confession, just laying out every single horrific detail. And when investigators ask him why would you do something like this, something so horrific to a child, Austin looks at them and he says, and this is a direct quote by the way, "I wanted to see what it felt like. I was fulfilling a sexual fantasy. I wanted to know if I could actually go through with killing someone." What? Okay guys, I'm done. Keep him locked up, please. Austin got tried as an adult and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Oh my God, why am I so obsessed with that sentence? Let me say it again. Without the possibility of parole, which means that he will die behind bars. He will never breathe fresh air again, and he will never see the outside world. And honestly, some people would argue that that's not nearly harsh enough for what he did. But what do you guys think? And listen, I know that this one was a heavy one. It absolutely destroyed me while I was researching and writing this. But I think that it is most important that we remember Jessica, not as a victim, but as a person who was loved and had so many dreams and deserved an amazing life. Every year on what would have been her birthday, Sarah actually releases these purple balloons into the sky to honor her daughter's memory. And I think that's beautiful. So if you made it this far, then maybe if you want, drop a purple heart in the comments, and if her mom or a family member ever sees this, then they know that Jessica will always be loved and remembered. I love you guys. Mwah, group hug.